Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you immigration law on your side.
Alright, magandang gabi mga kababayan and nako, Paskong Pasko na. Maligayang Pasko po sa inyong lahat mula po sa amin dito sa PHLV Radio and syempre mula din po sa Reeves Immigration Law Group. Napapanood nyo sa screen si Attorney Diza galing po sa San Francisco, California. Kumusta po kayong lahat? And nandito na naman po ang isa na namang immigration law on your side. Mga kababayan, naitanong nyo ito sa amin one time pero ngayon, ito talaga pag-uusapan natin ngayon. Dire-diretso na ba ang inyong naturalization, ang inyong path to citizenship? There are several advantages kasi mga kababayan, as you know, na pag-naturalize ka as a U.S. citizen, including protection from deportation and syempre, yung right to vote. Pero tonight, papaliwanag ni Attorney Diza, partner po siya ng Reeves Immigration Law Group sa San Francisco, California. He will give us reasons why you should hold off muna. Wag muna, preno muna. And not file for naturalization. But if you do, kailangan kumonsulta muna sa mga attorney natin, sa immigration attorneys. Attorney Diza, magandang gabi po sa iyo.
Magandang gabi Kuya Johan at maligayang Pasko na rin sa iyo. Right, ilang araw na lang Pasko na. Right, at ganoon din sa mga viewers and listeners natin. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat at maligayang Pasko na rin sa inyo. This is the last of our episode this year at pag-usapan natin kung bakit hindi po natin i-file ang inyong naturalization, ano? At in our previous discussion, Kuya Johan, dito sa Immigration Law on Your Side, we discussed yung several advantages of becoming a citizen, ano, by filing your naturalization. And nabanggit mo nga, right to vote, very important yan, lalong-lalo next year, November, no? Presidential election na naman dito. Pangalawa, pwede rin yung advantage is yung right to travel with your US passport, and nabanggit mo rin yung isa, which is, you know, yung deportation, yung kanila pwedeng i-deport, right? And of course, if you have still family members sa Pilipinas or abroad, right, spouse, fiancé, or minor children, mas mabilis po pag kayo po US citizen. Pero ngayong gabi, as nabanggit ni Kuya Johan, paano muna natin at magkonsulta muna sa abogado bakit hindi nyo kailangan i-file kaagad, kasi there are adverse consequences. Ano po, sa pag-usapan natin mamaya kung bakit hindi nyo i-file. Kasi there is a possibility na pwedeng i-deny yung inyong naturalization application. At hindi lang po yan. Hindi lang yung denial, kundi there's a possibility that they will place you in removal proceedings. No? At ang masaklap dyan, kung they'll place you in removal proceedings at wala po kayong available relief dahil sa, you know, dahilan kung bakit ma-deny, mahirap po yun at pwede kayong i-deport despite your length of residence in the United States.
Parang attorney, yung malapit ka na sa finish line, pero nadapa ka pa. Hindi natuloy. Hindi ka dumating sa finish line kasi sa tagal ng hinintay ng ating mga kababayan. And obviously, these are mga green card holders, naghihintay na ng kanilang, depends kung 3 years or 5 years. 5 years usually po, attorney, ang hinihintay nila. Pero bago pala po mga kababayan kayo mag-file for naturalization, kailangan munang panoorin itong episode na ito at alamin kung kailan dapat, preno muna. So, attorney, give us some reasons why they should hold off in their filing for naturalization.
Yes, actually preno, pero pwede siguro slow motion, Kuya Johan.
Slow motion?
Yeah, slow motion bago makarating sa finish line by siguro consulting a lawyer at titignan ko anong options, the best way to finish, to reach that finish line, which is becoming a U.S. citizen. Unang-una po yung lack of good moral character. Kasi one of the requirements for you to become a naturalized citizen is to show within the last 5 years that you have a good moral character. Ibig sabihin yan, even outside the 5 years, Kuya Johan, by discretion, tinitignan din ng immigration yan kung meron kayong crimes committed even outside the 5 years kasi it's, a discretion. Pero kung within the 5 years yan, we advise that you have to hold off. Right? Lalo-lalo na yung mga may DUI, driving under influence, for example, hindi kayo pwedeng mag-file ng citizenship unless matapos nyo yung probation, which is usually 3 years. Right? Or, may mga perjury din. Let's, for example, nagsinungaling ka, di ba, during your prior naturalization interview at nahuli kayo na nagsinungaling under penalty of perjury, right? You lack good moral character, so hindi ka pwedeng mag-naturalize, right? Or, yung iba naman, Kuya Johan, yung mga males between the ages of 18 to 26, requirement yan under the law that you have to register with the Selective Service. Ano? At kung kayo po'y hindi nag-register, for example, right, ang requirement is from 18 to 26. So kung nasa age bracket na yan at eligible po kayo mag-citizen, pwede pa kayong mag-submit or mag-register under the Selective Service. Pero kung let's say 27, 28, 29, right, na kayo, hindi na kayo required mag-register. So titingnan nila yung 5 years kasi requirement is until 2026, di ba? 26 years old. So kung 27, 28 ka na, wala pang 5 years, sasabihin nila you have, until the 26 you failed to register. So hindi pwede. But after the lapse of 5 years, which is 26 plus 5, 31 years old na kayo and over, wala na yung good moral character. So kahit hindi kayo nag-register, you can show good moral character already. Pero paalala natin mga kababayan natin na pag hindi po kayo nag-register, let's say 27 na kayo, you still recommend you to submit, lalong-lalo na kung hindi nyo alam na mag-register pala kayo. Kasi, Johan, sa Pilipinas, sa embassy pa lang, yung mga males between the ages of 18 to 26, automatic nire-register na nila yan eh. Pero kung nandito kayo sa US nag-adjust at hindi nyo alam, then probably you can make an explanation that you did not willfully fail to register kasi hindi nyo alam. So, those are the possible ways. At may mga instances din, Kuya Johan, ito mga binanggit natin kanina, you just have to wait, right? Wait for 5 years para mag-lapse yung 5 years. Pero may mga sitwasyon din, Kuya Johan, na hindi na pwedeng mag-naturalize because of certain, conviction. Like kagaya ng murder, they are prohibited to file, attempted murder, and also like mga aggravated felonies, right? Like, for example, selling of drugs or domestic violence that involves, death. So maraming sitwasyon dyan at hindi lang yan, Kuya Johan, kasi ito mga aggravated felonies na to, right? Even if you don't file for naturalization after the conviction po ninyo and after ng service ng sentence po ninyo, right? There might be an immigration hold already. Kumbaga, yung end ng sentence mo, naghihintay na sa iyo ang ICE, di ba? Para ikulong ka nila at i-deport ka nila. So, very important mga kababayan, kayo po, mga kamag-anak ninyo, if you are accused of a crime, right? Whether you committed it or not, whether you're innocent or guilty, right? It's really important to discuss also the immigration consequence of your criminal conviction para maiwasan po ang deportation. So ito yung unang-una nating reason why you hold off filing for your naturalization is because you lack the good moral character.
Attorney, very recently napag-usapan natin yung fraud din, Attorney. What if during the course of your tenure na naka-green card ka, biglang na-discover nila na meron palang fraud yung pagkaka-obtain mo ng green card? This might be a good reason na wag ka muna mag-apply.
That's correct. May mga sitwasyon, Kuya Johan, na either intentional yung fraud mo or tawag ito, unintentional, right? Once the immigration come into possession of the actual facts, right, that there was a misrepresentation, material misrepresentation that would lead to either denial of your green card, right, they can actually deny for your naturalization. It's not only denial, Kuya Johan, there's also a probability, as I mentioned, that they can take away your green card by referring you to an immigration judge for deportation. So ito yung, let's say, you came in, very common sa ating mga kababayan, right, you came in as a petition as single, but you were actually married, right, kasi pinetition ka ng magulang mo as single, yung pala, you have marriage and several children, and you did not disclose this at the embassy. So ngayon, when nag-apply ka ng naturalization, gusto mong mag-apply ng naturalization, you want to tell the truth already, right? Siyempre, makikita ng immigration that the green card was illegally issued. Ito yung sinasabing not legally or lawfully admitted. So yung mga scenario na yan. Or may mga sitwasyon din na let's say you came in with a different name, right? And then probably you falsified your I-94. I don't know if it's still possible kasi madali nang ma-detect ang mga fraudulent documents ngayon, Kuya Johan, ano? But let's say hindi mo sinabi na nag-apply ka ng asylum in the past, for example, or meron kang prior marriage in the past na hindi mo dineclare, right? I just had a consultation this morning where meron kasal sa Pilipinas, right? And then iniwan daw siya ng asawa niya, right, ng more than 30 years. So ang presumption niya is automatically divorced na siya or automatically terminated yung marriage kasi nawawala daw yung asawa niya for the last 30 years. And I told them na then came here, sinabi niyang single siya, nag-asawa na walang divorce, and then nakuha yung green card. So now they want to become a citizen. And I said no, because you have a prior unterminated marriage. And the reason why you obtained your green card is through marriage, di ba? So had you declared that you have a prior unterminated marriage, i-deny ka ng adjustment mo. So ngayon gusto mong come out clean by declaring that may prior marriage ka, even if you terminated the marriage after the subsequent marriage, hindi pa rin kasi at the time of the marriage to a U.S. citizen, right, you are still married. So bawal yun. In fact, ang naturalization question, mga kababayan, may tanong doon na, have you had two marriages? Or did you marry two persons at the same time, right? That's a bigamous marriage. And yeah, the answer is yes. At makikita nila na, meron kang unterminated marriage before you marry someone else. So, ipipreno muna ninyo yan if you plan to file, and of course, you don't want to, continue perpetrating fraud. Hindi tipong, mag-apply na kayo ng naturalization and don't declare your prior marriage. Paano kung may anak kayo na pinetition, di ba, na yun pala, yung magulang na pinakasalan nyo, yung tatay, yung nanay, nung pinipetition nyo at may records na ang USCIS. So very common yan, Kuya Johan, not legally or lawfully admitted because of the fraud. So if later on immigration finds out that you committed this fraud, then most likely they will deny your naturalization. Hindi lang yan, hindi lang yung use of fake name, hindi lang yung pagsisinungaling about marital status, but also marriage fraud, right? Marriage fraud. Even saying na I'm living with my U.S. citizen spouse, I'm filing it on the basis of 3 years, no? Yung pala, so nag-provide ka ng documents that you're living with your U.S. citizen spouse, and then nung pinatawag ko ng interview, taka ka bakit, binatawag din yung asawa mo, right? And then, pag pinaghiwalay kayo and they found out that you're not living together, right? That's not only a perjury, yung binanggit natin kanina, right? That nagsisinungaling ka just to get the green card right away. Yung pala hindi ka pwedeng mag-citizen dahil separated ka na dun sa U.S. citizen spouse mo. So those are the situations, no, where there is a possibility that, or rather, one of the reasons why you should not file for naturalization if you have this, what we call not legally or lawfully admitted.
Attorney, kung sa naman yung mga waiting for their chance to become U.S. citizen by virtue of their employment, yung mga employment, yung mga EB3, mga ganyan, meron din po bang mga situation there as far as yung hindi ka pwede muna mag-naturalize? Say for example, you did not work for your petitioning employer. Parang mga ganon. Will that be a problem?
In fact, we mentioned in the past na you're coming here on the EB3, like your employment-based 3, where you're being petitioned by the employer, and you're expected to work with the employer, right? Just because that's the reason why you're getting the green card. Now, part of the questions dun sa N400, yung naturalization po, is yung employment, right? Last 5 years employment. So, for example, you came here 10 years ago and then hindi kayo nag-work doon sa sa employer na nag-petition sa inyo. Akala nyo makakalusot na kayo dahil wala namang attorney tinatanong dun sa last 5 years, 10 years ago na to, right? But there's also a question there where when did you become a green card, right? And then usually ang follow-up question dyan is, how did you get your green card, right? So if you say, at saka nakikita rin Kuya Johan sa category mo dun sa green card mo. Di ba? When you look at the green card, may certain category dyan like EB3 or E3 or something na ganon, right? And F, that means family. E, that means employment. So makikita nila that you obtain your green card through employment. And the next question would be, have you worked with your employer? Right? So, kung hindi ka nagtrabaho sa employer mo, then there's something wrong. Right? There's something wrong with the petition and you have to discuss this with the lawyer. Now, if, for example, it's not your fault, and that could be a basis actually for denial as well. Kasi kung sasabihin mo, may hospital nag-petition sa akin, and then hindi na ako nag-work with attorney kasi mahirap panggabi ako doon, di ba? Like, inilagay ako sa panggabi, hindi ko kaya, di ba? O hindi ko kaya yung trabaho. So, technically, that raises a red flag and might be a denial, right? But, if you tell them that, look, I have contacted my employer, right, and I reported to work, but they told me that there's no job available for me because, number one, nababankrupt na itong employer, or number two, wala na yung trabaho, right? In good faith that you thought that there's still a job offer, but it's not your fault that you did not work with the employer, then you can justify, Kuya Johan. And of course, you need to hire a lawyer to explain fully why your case, kasi otherwise, the immigration officer will grill you and extract admission that might lead a denial of your naturalization.
So kailangan maingat sa pagsasagot, even if in good faith na talagang nagsara na yung employer. Dapat maayos yung pagsasagot natin. That's why it's very important, mga kababayan, that you consult with an immigration attorney. And before we move further, attorney, na pag-usapan na rin natin yan, they should consult sa ating Reeves Immigration Law Group attorney. Surely, of course, you handle all these things. Ngayon pong holiday break, ang isang tanong nila sa akin ay, makukontak ba namin si attorney during the holiday break?
Yes, ang aming opisina ay open during the holiday. It's not only just me who's the lawyer here. There are more than 10 of us, right? You can set a consultation you can see our telephone number and website, right? It's 415-568-3777, and set a consultation. We can waive the consultation fee of $100, just mentioning PHLV Radio. You saw and heard us here at PHLV Radio. We are open, Kuya Johan, during the holiday break, of course, except for Christmas, and New Year. But we're here. We do phone consultation, Zoom like this one. Open na po tayo ng in-person. In fact, this morning I met with many clients from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And they want to see us in person. So we're open now, right? We have an office in Makati as well. You can contact them, and they are very helpful in helping you, right, in preparing your forms and preparing you for your visa interview at the embassy. So we've been here, Kuya Johan, for almost 40 years. So,
wow!
And we only specialize and we only do immigration and no other law practice but immigration.
Ayun, kaya talagang mga expert, mga kababayan. Attorney, balik tayo. Pero nabanggit nyo yung Makati. Paano kung umuwi sila sa Pilipinas? As you very well know, mga kababayan, na pagka may green card ka, you can travel and everything, ano? But as we've mentioned also in some of our earlier episodes this year, merong time limit pagka nasa labas ka ng Amerika. What if you stayed too long outside of the United States, attorney, at medyo tumagal ka ng intended, sabi mo pa 3, 4, 5 months ka lang, inabot ka ng ilang 1 year or more. Will that be hadlang po ba yan, attorney, sa pag-apply ng naturalization?
It is, kasi it will break your continuous physical presence. One of the requirements for filing naturalization is the physical presence and residence in the U.S., right? Residence in the U.S. The requirement is it's not only the majority of your stay, but also it should not break your continuous presence. Meaning, if you stayed for over a year outside the U.S., let's say nag-stay ka sa Pilipinas ng more than a year, nabibreak na po ang continuous presence mo. So even with the advanced the re-entry permit, nakakuha kayo ng re-entry permit, attorney, may re-entry permit ako, I want to finish my studies, right? Or, wind up my law practice or my medical practice, right? I'm going to stay there for 2 years. So, nag-apply po kayo ng re-entry. So, mabibreak yun. So, for example, 4 years na kayo nasa Amerika and then you went back home and stayed there for over a year. At pagbalik po ninyo, you have to establish another 4 years residency na, right? Na dapat walang break yon ng more than 1 year, right? Para makapag-apply po kayo ng naturalization. On the other hand, kapag ang stay po ninyo ay less than 6 months, right? For the last 5 years, every less than 6 months, okay yon, walang break of continuous presence. Pero kung kayo po ay nag-stay there ng mga more than 6 months, but less than 1 year, for example, in 2 consecutive years, ganun ang ginawa nyo, right? 8 months, susunod na buwan, naging 11 months, susunod dito na kayo for the last 3 years, nandito kami sa Amerika, right? You have to justify, right? Okay lang din mag-file, but you have to justify bakit po kayo nag-stay ng katagal doon, right? Bakit 11 months? Bakit mayroong 8 months? So usually, pwede nyo dalhin yung mga evidence, right? Like for example, my mother got sick, I have to take care of my ailing father, right? Or ako nagkasakit mismo during COVID, hindi ako makaalis dahil COVID ako and I have to stay. So pwede mong i-justify by presenting yung proof of your extended stay, right? And you have to also prove that you did not abandon yung green card mo sa US or yung residency mo sa US. By showing that, number one, you still have a residence here. Kung umuupa kayo o nakikiupa kayo sa magulang o sa kamag-anak, you have to show those bills, na dumarating sa inyo, yung bank account nyo may transaction pa, right, na hindi nyo kayo nag-resign sa trabaho, kundi nag-leave kayo after nandun na kayo sa Pilipinas. So, they can still approve your naturalization if that's the situation. But anything that's more than 1 year of your stay outside the US, that will break and your continuous presence, and you have to wait for another 4 years para makapag-file po kayo ng naturalization.
Ayun, okay. Kaya pala, we do have some people asking us about that here at the station, and they were asking yung kanilang green card na if they will just keep it forever. Yung kanilang green card. Kaya mga kaibigan, if you're just joining us right now, we are talking about naturalization on why you should hold off. Wag muna na mag-apply. Although, you must have seen us on other episodes na sinasabi natin, o sige na, go na. Pero ito, medyo slow down muna because of these reasons na binabanggit ni Attorney. Attorney, over the course of the many years that we've been here too, pag nag-a-apply ka ng mga trabaho, especially nung mga bago tayo dito, tinatanong doon palagi sa mga form. Even in USCIS forms, tinatanong doon palagi na, are you a US citizen? Tinatanong nila yan eh. Some of our listeners have asked, paano kung nagkamali ako o kaya talaga intentionally sinabi niyang US citizen siya? We know that it's a bad thing to do, but it might, is it a reason for you to hold off first and fix that before applying for naturalization?
Yes, claiming to be a US citizen, it has an adverse consequence. No, if you are applying for a green card, there's no waiver for that. So it's kind of totally di ba? So kung nag-claim ka ng US citizen on the form, you admitted claiming to be a US citizen by either registering to vote or saying that you are a citizen on those application forms, then you are barred from getting your green card. There's no waiver. That's masaklap Kuya Johan. The only exception is if you're a minor when you enter, you're a green card holder, and then one of your parents is a US citizen, no? Pero if not, like a client we have where he worked at I think Wells Fargo for 30 years, nakapasa ng US citizen, and then the immigration officer asked her, how did you get the work at Wells Fargo? This is a big company, right? And they will not just employ undocumented or out-of-status people without the I-9, yung verification, employment verification. So she said, well, I said I was a citizen, then that's the end of it. Denied siya, and they placed her in removal proceedings. Luckily, there's a relief for that, yung cancellation of removal. But, it's going to cost you a lot of money and time before you can fix your status. Now, for example, green card na kayo, right? And then at your interview, you admitted that, yes, I applied for a job claiming to be a U.S. citizen, or I applied for, I voted, I registered to vote. Kasi pinapadala lang sa akin yan, then I filled it out and I voted.
Yeah.
And then that could also a cause of denial, right? So consult a lawyer, right, whether you claim to be a citizen is actually a claim to be a citizen. Kasi may mga sitwasyon, Kuya Johan, yung I-9, especially during the 1990s, right, or early 1990s or before the IRA provision of the INA, ang tanong doon is, are you a citizen or national, right? So claiming to be a U.S. national will not bar you from becoming a citizen. So you really have to scrutinize and see if there's a way out, from claiming to be a U.S. citizen. Now, yung voting, Kuya Johan, mahirap din yan kasi intentional yan. You have to register muna before you vote.
Yeah.
Right? So, dalawang action yon. So, if they know that you voted, it's not only a denial of your naturalization, but also, a possibility that the immigration officer will refer you to see an immigration judge for deportation or removal.
Nako, mahirap pala ito. Kaya be careful mga kababayan, especially when you receive mails. We've had listeners who've asked us about that. Sabi nila, nakatanggap kami ng jury duty to report for jury. Hindi pa naman kami citizen. So, that one you have to, ang pwedeng gawin doon, attorney, dapat sabihin na hindi sila citizen. Ano po?
Yes, just respond that not a U.S. citizen without further explaining your status, right? Like, I'm overstay or I'm a green card holder. Just indicate that not eligible, not a U.S. citizen, and return back that notice, right? Para naman hindi kayo patawag every year. Kasi ignore lang, and then pinapatawag naman sila every year. And baka mamaya, ma-contempt pa sila, di ba? So why don't you just return back, that piece of paper, that notice, and inform them that you are not a citizen yet.
Ayun, all right. Magandang topic ito, attorney, kasi at the end of the year, marami na ang nagsisimula ng magsulat ng kanilang mga New Year's resolution para at least medyo mailagay na sa resolution para makorek itong mga, kunwari, itong number 1 natin, yung good moral character. Nako, dapat wala kayo sa listahan ni Santa Claus niyan pagka wala kayong good moral character. Hindi rin pala pwedeng mag-naturalize pagka walang good moral character. So wala na kayo kay Santa Claus, wala pa kayo kay Uncle Sam.
Yeah, that's true. But Kuya Johan, even if these people, the applicants are not eligible now, right? Or it raises a red flag, kagaya ng nabanggit natin kanina na may mga fraud and everything. It's not gonna go away, right? Even if passage of 5 years, hindi kagaya ng good moral character na, you lied to a U.S. officer, perjury, or yung crime na kinumit mo, after the last of 5 years, pwede nang mag-naturalize. Pero yung mga may fraud, right, may crimes, sometimes the only what do you call this? The only time that you can fix is going to court, and that's when you come to us and evaluate your case. Do we have to push this, right? Mag-file tayo, we come in clean and go to court, because this remedies, Kuya Johan, if they found out that you committed a fraud, hindi ka makapag-citizen. Yun yung consequence. Unless, they put you in court, right, and then fix that in court, hingi ka ng waiver, hingi ka ng tawad, right, and then only then that you can reapply for naturalization. And that's when we strategize your case. Kasi lalong-lalo na, yung isang kliyente natin, Kuya Johan, that very one of the successful stories, I hope he's listening, because he was always asking me, attorney, yung success story ko, nasaan na? Right? So I'm going to tell dito sa radyo na, kaysa doon sa writing. So ang nangyari sa kanya, Kuya Johan, yung mga typical client natin, the 1990s, bata pa to So he came here as single, the usual one, but he was married with kids. He's still very young. I think he's in early 50s now. He came to me like 4 years ago asking how to fix, kasi gusto niyang dalhin yung asawa niya, mga anak niyang naiwan at nalulungkot siya. And he has really a very, very good job dito sa Bay Area at kumikita ng ganito, ganyan. And I told him, and heart to heart, sabi ko, there's no way na makorek mo yan sa immigration. So even if you apply for naturalization now and admit the fraud, right, either they will, they will deny your case, pababayaan ka lang nila, and that's the consequence of lying, right? Hindi ka makapag-citizen, hindi mapapetition ang family mo. So what I said, okay, we file a naturalization, and then we what do you call this? We admit the truth, and then we request the immigration officer na ilagay ka sa court kasi yun na ang paraan para maayos ka. Sabi niya, yeah, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to admit, and I'm taking the risk of the consequence, right? Now, if they be in court and maghintay tayo na matagal. And then, ayaw pa rin silang ilagay sa immigration court, and we strategize a case para ilagay siya sa immigration judge. And that's what you call us, how to do that, right? But of course, secret namin yun. But one of our advice sa mga kababayan is to go to court. And there's a way to request, immigration for them to put you in court. So pagdating sa court, Kuya Johan, alam natin ang backlog din, di ba? Mga 5 taon, 7 taon.
Wow.
So what I did is I gathered all the documentation sa kanya. Very cooperative siya. And that's what we like about clients din. Provide niya lahat yung good moral character. Nagbayad siya ng taxes for the last 20 years. Wala siya criminal records. Nag-volunteer sa church, etc. Ang dami niya mga positive equities. I submitted that right away. And then I requested the government lawyer, like, look, isinet ito in 5 years time. Ang tagal pa. So, nandun na lahat yung records, pinrovide na namin yung lahat ng records sa court, kinapi-furnish ko namin yung government lawyer, right? Would you be willing to join us, right? Para sabihin natin sa judge na wala ng testimony, right? Wag na dating ito yung 2028, right? 5 years down the road, at request na lang natin na magdesisyon ng judge or approve yung judge yung aming request na waiver na wala ng testimony. You know what? I mean, I contacted them siguro mga early part of February, and then we're able to get it in November. Finally, the government lawyer responded, we are going to join you on oppose motion to decide case based on records without testimony. And then, tuwang-tuwa yung kliyente. So, I filed for that request sa judge. Then, before Thanksgiving, Kuya Johan, the judge granted my client the relief. So, very short time. Alam ko medyo matagal yung process na ganyan because you really have to fight for it, and you have to be patient, right? But less than 4 years, naayos na yun sa kanya kasi naturalization and then that option of filing with USCIS para ilagay sa immigration judge and then sa judge pa. So, I mean, usually yan umabot na more than 10 years or 10 to 12 years to 15 years. Pero this case, umabot lang ng 4 years, and he was so grateful, especially panahon ng Thanksgiving and holidays, that napatawad na siya ng judge and he's ready to file for naturalization. At hindi lang yan, uwi siya sa Pilipinas, right, because he has not seen his family for the last 4 years. So that's one of the success stories that we have, right, that just because you are not eligible to file for naturalization, right? If you need to become a citizen because you want to petition your family, you want to become a dual citizen in the future, you want to retire in the Philippines, right? Kasi hindi ka pwedeng mag-retire ng green card ka lang, Kuya Johan, di ba? Dahil
That's right.
maapon yung green card mo, right? So, and if you want to do it now while you're younger, meron pa kayong resources, consult with us because there's a way, right, for you to become a citizen. It might be the time, matagal ang waiting time, and also might cost you some money, but it's gonna be worth it, right? Becoming a citizen and reuniting with your family, especially this holiday season.
Nako, it's speaking of holiday season, we're just a few days before Christmas. Nako, maligayang Pasko again sa ating mga tagapakinig, lahat ng mga viewers and listeners and mga clients ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Attorney, before I let you go, ano pong takeaway natin sa ating mga viewers and listeners about this topic that we're talking about, holding off your naturalization application if you have any of these things na binanggit natin?
Yes, maraming salamat Kuya Johan for inviting me and for this PHLV Radio Immigration Law on Your Side. It's really a great opportunity for us to render this and educate our kababayan here and abroad, right, regarding U.S. immigration. Marami tayong nakukuhang mga tanong sa inyo, and we are here to help you. Now, with this holiday season, my law firm, Reeves Immigration Law Group, we've been here for more than 40 years, and most of the lawyers are immigration law specialists. We continue to help reunite families, right? Whether you get your green card application, whether we get you out from deportation or removal proceedings, and whether we sue the government on behalf of you to expedite your case, to decide your case, right? Or the embassy, right? Going to the legal net. Marami po ang mga tayong mga success cases for year 2023 and previous years. And hopefully for these coming years, we continue to obtain positive resolution for your case. So sa inyo po na nakikinig at nanonood, kung kayo po o inyong kakilala, kamag-anak ay may immigration problems, US immigration problems, feel free to contact us. As I mentioned, if you let us know that you heard us at PHLV Radio, we can waive your $100 consultation and we can assess your case. Maraming salamat at maligayang Pasko po sa inyong lahat at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Naku, maraming salamat po, Attorney Diza from San Francisco, California. We want to thank you for this one whole year of public service sa ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat po, and we'll hope to see you again next month. Attorney, marami pang mga tanong dito nakapila para sa inyo, and mangyari lamang po na i-comment dito sa baba ang ating para sa ating mga attorneys ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Katulad po na nabanggit ni attorney, hindi lang po siya ang lawyer ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Isa pong team sila dyan na puro talaga immigration lamang ang kanilang ginagawa. So maraming salamat po for joining us today on this episode of Immigration Law on Your Side. Kuya Yo from Las Vegas, Nevada. Attorney Diza coming from San Francisco, California. Attorney, maraming salamat at maligayang Pasko po sa inyo lahat dyan sa Reeves Immigration Law Group.
Thank you. See you next year.
Maraming salamat po. Guys, we will see you next time right here at Immigration Law on Your Side on PHLV Radio, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration